Hello everyone, good evening. It's Jose here on Tel Cockerel. I hope you're all well. It's that time of the week again. It's Thursday. It's the mop-up show, whereby you guys, I'll spout some talk to you guys, and from doing that, you guys ask me questions, and we get everybody involved. So, just before I start, my other computer has completely died on me, which is normally what I look at and get information from as I'm speaking to you people. But until that starts up, and if it does, let me have a look what we've got. We have Adrian Shoker saying, "Good evening, Jose, fellow yeet and yeeters." We've got David Shear, nice, saying late again, lol. Um, Good day, Adrian, doing a huge shift cover. I think he's referring to Adrian being on earlier. We have Be Right Back, Jose cover. Good evening to Spurs GCTV. He's saying hi to David as well, and hi to Adrian. And I have Stay Humble. Evening, Jose. I've got my mop. Yeah, and so have I. I have my mop as well. Right, let me see if this works. If it doesn't, shoved till the morning. No, it's locked out. So I'm now shoved till the morning. Okay. So I can't use my laptop to check things over. But what I will say, um, start firing your questions whenever you're ready. But what I will say tonight, what did we see tonight? So tonight, I might need my phone. Let me get my phone, and then I can tell you about tonight. Hold on. Right. Right. The definite thing we got tonight is Villa have drawn 0-0 in Holland against Ajax. I think they did put quite a bit of effort into the game, Villa. It wasn't an easy game for them. And from what I saw, it was quite a bit of an effort for Villa. They've drawn 0-0. And a lot of their players, excuse me, lads, a lot of their players that you'd expect that will play against us at the weekend got minutes. I mean, Konza was sent off in the 83rd minute, and I've got a feeling that Konza will line up against us anyway. But they went in with a. Okay, so it's not even showing me who they went in with on this. But yeah, they did. Pau Torres went off at half time. I knew he'd gone off at half time, but I was still doing the show here. Stay humble, and because I was doing the show here, I wasn't sure that he'd gone off injured. But yeah, he's come off at half time, and I think Matty Cash replaced him. But as far as I was aware, Longley must have come off the subs bench as well, because they must have brought Longley off the subs bench as well. McGinn's come off the subs bench. Leon Bailey must have come off the subs bench as well, and Zaniolo came off the subs bench. But then they started with a lot of their players. So the goalkeeper started Martinez, obviously. Douglas Luiz has played a full game. Ollie Watkins has played a full game tonight. But again, at the end of the day, what I'm thinking is that yeah, they had to put a shift in. It wasn't an easy game for them at Ajax tonight. As it turned out, it wasn't an easy game. So we've got that 0-0 draw. Plus they've ended up playing, and we don't play them till Sunday. However, they've got to do the travelling back. They should travel back tonight, I would have thought. I would have thought they'd be close to getting back home now, or they should be home by midnight. I would have thought their game's kicked off at what, 5:30, 7, 8 o'clock in the evening. By the time you get changed, showered, and that, 9 o'clock, get to the airport. They've probably got a private plane, private charter, or whatever. 10 o'clock. Yeah, by the time they get home, I would have thought it'd be probably 1, depending how close they live to Villa Park, or to wherever they're flying into. Possibly midnight, 1 o'clock, maybe 2 in the morning they'll get home. And then they have to get ready again tomorrow in preparation for the game on Sunday. So, you know, at the end of the day, they're in that competition, and good luck to them, I say. Yeah, good luck to them, because the one thing we do need, and I'll come to this later on. Not even us what we need, but what British what what we need from British teams, or for English teams, what we need from them in order to get more coefficiency points. Well, Brighton got absolutely spanked, and we'll talk about Brighton in a minute. But yeah, Villa, a hard game. I watched most of the second half, and it was a hard game for them. And, Ajax did not make it easy at all, and I didn't expect them to, because I said yesterday or the day before, Ajax have got better since their slump earlier on this season. What else we got? Yeah, we've got Roma. Before I jump on that, with some more people here, you got Mark Cook saying, "Big up Jose, let's mop it up." Then, yep, let's mop it up. Spurs GCTV, thinking about it, a draw for Villa was a good result for us. It means that they want to push on in Europe. They will need to save some legs at the weekend. Ryan G is saying hello again to me. Hello, Ryan. How are you, mate? Stay Humble says they Stay Humble says they might stay, but the cafe in the cafes. They might stay and hit the cafes, is what he's saying, in Amsterdam. Yeah, the other results were Roma. Roma destroyed Brighton 4-0. I mean, I didn't see the game, but the result says bloody hell. Isla Niall, how are you, sir? I hope you're well. Mr. Niall Kane. So yeah, so Brighton were beaten 4-0 by Roma. Liverpool have won 5-1 away at Sparta. Rangers have got a 2 draw in Benfica. Now, that's no mean result. I know that the Scottish teams don't matter to the coefficient points down here, but it wasn't half a good result. Marseille beat Villarreal 4-0 tonight. Milan have beaten Slavia Prague 4-2, and West Ham have lost 1-0 against Freiburg. And Karabag, just to finish off the Europa League, Karabag drew 2-2 with Bayer Leverkusen. I think Karabag were 2-0 up in that game, and Bayer Leverkusen came back to draw 2-2. I can't remember who the two teams are, or who the two countries are. I've got a feeling it's Italy, and it's possibly Italy and Germany that are above England in the coefficient points. And the reason why I talk about coefficient points is because England being third prior to these round of matches, if England want to get a fifth place team into the Champions League this season, they need to get the coefficient points and beat one of the other two. But in saying that, with the Italians, with Roma spanking Brighton, the Italians get extra points for that. We'll get extra points if they get through. With Milan beating Slavia Prague 4-2, it goes to the return leg, but you'd like to think that Milan have probably got a good chance of getting through on that one as well. So some of the results: Leverkusen against Karabag 2-2 draw. And I don't think there's any. And Freiburg have won 1-0. So if West Ham can overturn Freiburg in that, then there's points there to be gained for a English team for coefficient. Liverpool will get points. I think Liverpool have got to be the favourites, haven't they, to win the Europa League, in all honesty. And then when you look at the Europa Conference, like we were saying earlier, Villa are favourites to win that. Now, when I tell you the other results that have happened there that night, Villa are the favourites, and they're all out to win that. So after they play us Sunday, they've got the second leg or the return leg next week. But the rest of the teams in this are: you have Molde 2, Club Brugge 1. You have Punchtingama 0, Lille 3. Zagreb 2, PAOK Salonika 0. You've got Maccabi Haifa 3, Fiorentina 4. Servette 0, Victoria Pilsen 0. And Union Saint-Gauloise of Belgium 0, Fenerbahce 3. Now, Villa are favourites to win that, although you've got Fiorentina in there. The rest of the teams don't seem to stack up, to be honest. But Villa are favourites to win that. However, a result for us to be wary of in that Europa Conference League is Olympiacos 1, Maccabi Tel Aviv 4. And you're going to write, and do you know why we should be wary of that result? I'll tell you why we should be wary of that result. It's because Maccabi Tel Aviv are managed, in his first full season, Maccabi Tel Aviv are managed by one Robbie Keane. Robbie Keane, who used to wear our shirt down at Tottenham, down at the Lane, he is the manager for Maccabi Tel Aviv. And they've gone out and beaten Olympiacos in Greece 4-1 tonight. in the Europa Conference League. So big up to Maccabi Tel Aviv and to Robbie Keane, who's cutting his teeth in management at the moment. Fantastic result for them. So really happy for them. Ryan saying Leverkusen are still unbeaten. Stay Humble says Leverkusen cost me a win on my accumulator. Spurs GC2 said, yeah, it's Italy and Germany. So with that, with the Italians and the Germans, right, in the Europa Conference, there's no German team in the conference. So whoever was in the conference for Germany is out. But the Italians still have Fiorentina and England still have Aston Villa in that one. But it's the other one. So, but Villa are favourites for this. So yeah. Ryan saying Nunez scored a good goal in that game. He's doing really well at the moment. I haven't seen the match, but I know that they won 5-1. Stay Humble's reminding us that two Brighton fans stabbed in Rome. Dirty. Yeah, I would never go back to Italy after going Lazio away years ago. Yeah, you do get warned. The police and the people at the clubs do warn you about when you go to Italy. They tell you to be wary about wearing your colours. If you wear your colours out in Italy, or they spot you out there, they go round. Well, I don't know so much in whether they do it in Rome, or it could be Rome as well. But I know that in Lazio, in Turin, they were. It's not, and it was Lazio. Yeah, they go round on mopeds, on the Lambrettas and the mopeds and that, and they go scouting around. And when they find groups of the supporters, they go on these Lambrettas, obviously doubled up. So someone's driving the moped, someone on the back, and they're tooled up. They carry tools in the person on the back's carrying tools, so they can go past you and cut you and hit you or whatever from the pillion drop to the person going passenger. And then they've been known to obviously, as well as, get off the bikes and come and attack people. It's quite rife in Italy. It's more rife, I think, in European games than what it is actually in Italian games. Although I would have thought they'd probably do that in Italian games as well. But yeah, we always hear about it in Europe quite a bit. Spurs GCV says Villa should be favourites to win the Conference League, Liverpool for the Europa, and City for the Champions League. All good for English coefficient. I think everything is good for English coefficient if English clubs do well, and all they've got to do is do better than other teams from Italy and Germany. If you can do better than them, but it depends on how many teams. I suppose it all depends on how many teams these countries still have left in competitions as well. But yeah, it definitely there's no German side left in the Europa Conference. So Villa get through another round of that. That's extra points that Germany wouldn't have got. But Germany have teams in the other competitions, besides the English teams anyway. Spurs GCV, did Robbie score all four? No, I'm afraid he didn't. He didn't score all four. But as I said, Robbie Keane cutting his teeth in management, and to go out to Olympiacos is no mean feat. To go out and beat them in Olympiacos. Looking at Maccabi Haifa Tel Aviv, his team, I don't recognise any of the players. Do I recognise any of the subs? No, I don't recognise any of the clubs because sometimes when you get managers from that have played in the Premiership or have managed in the Premiership or whatever, you know, when they go to these foreign countries, if they're not, they tend to snag and bring a player from England over and give them a run out. But his team tonight, I don't see anybody from England unless you guys know who these people are. I certainly don't. They had Roy Mishpati in goal. They had Idan Nachimas, Roy Revivo, Saborit, Ido Shahar, Gabi Kanichowski, Joris van Overeem, Osha Davida, Dor Peretz, Milson, Aaron Sahavi. And then the substitutes were Danielle, Orlando Mosquera, Avishai Cohen, Orfi Davidzada, Adair Cordoba, Eden Kartsev, Ayal Golasa, Dan Bitten. Dan Bitten. I know that name. I think that's the one I do know. Dor Turgerman, Kiko Bondoso, and Jonathan Cohen. Right, who's Osher Davida? What position does he play? Right, I think Dan Bitton might have been one of the players that played for, might have played in Scotland. But anyway, regardless of that, really good result. Really, really good result for Robbie Keane. Yeah, fantastic. You've got David's come back. So David's late to the party. We started already, and Dave's just come back. He's saying morning to everyone because it's morning in Oz at the moment. It's 6:21 in the morning where David's at, and he's saying good day, Jose Cobber. You've got Ryan G said I'd argue Leverkusen for the Europa. Okay. Um, and Stay Humble says Leverkusen versus Liverpool final. I suppose it all depends. After this round, I think in the 16s, well, I think it's everywhere in it. After this round, because we're all in the round of 16s at the moment, aren't we? So after this round, you have 8 teams left, and therefore from this round onwards, when you get to the quarters, they do the draws for the quarterfinals and the draws for the semi-finals, so you know what path you're going to follow, so to speak. So you'll know who you're playing in the quarters, and you know that if you win your game, you'll know what likely two opponents you get. So the paths will be made clearer when the next draw is made. If they stay apart, I could see it being it could well be a Liverpool Leverkusen final, um, but we'll have to wait and see. Um, as long as there's no Italian team there, then you can pick up points on the Italians, and then in the other one, if Fiorentina made the final with Villa, then you're picking up points on the Germans. So you got Ryan G says they're clearing the Bundesliga. They've rested players tonight as well. Liverpool are in a tight title race. Yeah, but I saw Ryan G that they had. I mean, I didn't look too tough, but I know that Jonathan Tah started. Tap Sober started. And I saw that their wingbacks, Jeremy Frimpong and Grimaldo, or whoever it is that they've got, I think they all came on, didn't they, as well? So it meant that a lot of their players would have ended up playing. Got a load of people saying hello to each other here. David Shear always gives me a weather update. So David Shear saying beautiful day, about 21 degrees already. Bearing in mind it's 6:23 in the morning and it's already 21 degrees. How nice is that, people? Would people like to swap with David Shear? And listen, if you haven't seen where David Shear lives, it's fucking beautiful, beautiful. It's a place called Esperance in Australia. It's absolutely lovely and beautiful. But I would take 21 degrees at 6:20 in the morning all day long, 3 times on a Saturday, and probably 9 times on a Sunday. So yeah, happy for you, David. Here it's now 23 minutes past 10. I don't know what the weather is out like there because I won't open my garden door and have a look, but I reckon it's very, very cold in comparison. And I reckon in the daytime, even when we hit uh, the highest point of the day with weather and warmth, then it's not going to be nowhere near. I think we'll struggle to get half of where you are at the moment. So I think we'll struggle to get 10 degrees at the moment. And you're already saying it's 21 degrees at 25 past 6 in the morning. Madness. Um, Ryan G says Grimaldo started and Frimpong didn't. Ronnie says big up, Ronnie. How are you, mate? I hope you're well. I hope you're well. Um, Stay Humble says, imagine if we needed Bayern to lose to get fifth place for the Champions League and Kane wins it for them instead, kicking us out, lol. Um, I find it difficult, and you know, at the end of the day, anything can happen. I mean, look at us. We went on a run and we ended up getting to the final. But at the moment, the way things stand, and watching the teams play at the moment, even saying that Bayern could be in the last four. But for me, if they're kept apart, if they are kept apart, right, and they're not drawn against each other in the quarters, so they're kept apart, which we don't want. You just want it. If it was a normal draw and the omens ended up that these teams get kept apart, I think the four teams that I've got down getting to the semi-final on form alone at the moment would be Man City, Real Madrid, Inter Milan, and Arsenal. if they're kept apart, they're the 4 teams that I can see making the semi-finals on form at the moment. I think Bayern at the moment, if they face Arsenal in a 2-legged affair, Inter Milan, Real Madrid, or Man City, I think they get beaten by them at the moment. Unless things change for Bayern, I can't see Bayern. Bayern can probably get to the semis if they avoid one of them 4. But if they meet one of them 4, I'm not sure whether Bayern get to the semi-finals. So, yeah, it's the way it is at the moment. So, um, winter is a real bugger here, David Shear says. Ronnie says 21 degrees at 6:20 in the morning. Yes, please. So Ronnie will have some of that. I will. Dakaru's in. So Dakaru is 2 hours or 3 hours further down the line in Australia as well. Dakaru, what's the weather temperature like where you are? We know what it is for David, and it's 26 minutes past 6 in the morning for David, and he has 21 degrees at the moment. What is it for you, Dakaru? Just let us know. Just make us a bit more jealous over here. So it's 9:27 a.m. So it's 3 hours. He's 3 hours in front of David. He's on the other side of Oz. But what's the weather temperature like where you are, Dekaru? At now at 9:27 in the morning. Make some of us jealous, please. It'd be great. Right, Ryan G says it's like 3 degrees where I am. What? So you got singers in the background in your living room, Ryan? You got the 3 degrees singing to you, and then you've got Chris Meta Football saying salutations to all. Good evening, Chris. How are you, sir? Um, but Ryan says but at least it's not raining for once. So and you got people saying hello to Chris as he's coming in. Um, yeah, so that's a bit of a catch up. Evening audio, how are you, mate? The audio's just come in as well, so good evening audio. Yeah, so um, that's the news. The news tonight is that Villa did use a lot of players tonight. They were given a harder game than people might have thought. I didn't think it was going to be an easy game for them. I actually thought it'd be what it was. Um, and yeah, so let's see what happens now when they come to play us on Sunday. Um, Ryan G is walking his dog currently whilst listening to us. Oh, fantastic. And then you've got David Shear saying 31 today, so a sea breeze will come in. So it's 21 already in the morning, and the highest you're going to get to is 31. Interesting. Dekaru saying, right, we have our own microclimate, small 5 km strip between cliffs and ocean. It's 23 degrees. My God. People, what would we do with 21 and 23 degrees? Ah, it's heaven. Sounds like heaven to me, having them kind of temperatures. Completely sounds like heaven. Yeah, so the game on Sunday. Tomorrow, obviously, regardless whether you're playing Saturday or Sunday, the presses are usually done on a Friday. So tomorrow we'll get news, views, and clues when Postecoglou comes out and gives his one. I must admit, I haven't seen much in the way of Tottenham news coming out from training at the moment. I haven't even seen that many clips because Tottenham Hotspur normally do some clips, training clips in there. I haven't seen many at all this week from them. We might get to see more tomorrow, I don't know. But yeah, we're waiting for the presser tomorrow and to see what Big Ange has got to say about the people that have come, or how the people have come along in the last week since the last game, and what we could be looking like, or come the weekend, i.e., in the sense of what players we've got available. I mean, that's normally the first question that gets asked, and it gets asked by Sky Sports in the presser, and they get that one out of the way, or whoever leads the questions off. It's always about who you've got available and who's made it back since the last game and stuff like that. And I think we're all gonna want to. The first name we want to hear is whether Porro's made it back or not. I think that's what we're all looking out for. Um, yeah, if we've got full fit and healthy squad, then that then gives Ange a lot to think about. because what you want is you want a full fit squad. You want to pick your 11 to do you the job in the 90. Well, to do the job that you believe that can do the job for 90 minutes, and then also pick a bench that you believe can help if the players ain't going to last 90 minutes, that can help. And as I call it, impact subs, if you want to call them, or finishers like you get in rugby. Um, so the more players we've got fit, the stronger supposedly our bench will be, and that's what we're looking to see what happens. But Porro's, I think Porro's the one that we're going to be waiting on. The other one, miraculously, is what do you guys all think about Richie? Now, I asked this question yesterday or the day before. Last week on Thursday, we get told that Richie's now injured for 2 to 3 weeks. And then on Saturday, apparently, he did an interview on Saturday, the day of the Palace game, to say, "Nah, I'm fit. I'm going to be. I'm back training, and I'll be fit for next week." And what's all that about? If you're out for 2 to 3 weeks, then you're for my age, you're out for 2 to 3 weeks. Not you're out for 2 days and then you're fit again, because that's what it was. We got told Thursday he was out, and on Saturday he's fit. Oh, it's just madness, isn't it? Madness. Unless it's him wanting to be a part of it and doing what Bentancur did and running to the manager's office and running away from the medical team, running to the manager, so saying, "Yeah, I can do your turn. I can do your turn. I'll have a game. I'll have a game." Um, yeah, who knows? But yeah, I think Porro's the one that we're all waiting to see whether he's fit or not. And then we're also hoping as well that we haven't lost any players to injury through this week as well. Because the one thing Tottenham are getting better at, and I will say this, they are getting better at, is we're not getting the leaks that we used to get. So when a team is united and everyone's fighting for the cause and everyone's like grouped with each other, you don't tend to hear too much come out. It's all harmonious, and you get all the positives, you get all the buzz, the buzz within the club and stuff like that, and you don't get to hear much. However, when there's problems at a club and people aren't harmonious, you tend to find stories end up leaking out. Some stories could be true, some stories may not be true. Um, but yeah, we'll wait and see what he says in the presser, and that'll be good to hear. Dakar saying it's heaven. Yeah, Robbie from Lily White Lane. Get over to Lily White Lane, people. Support Robbie. Good evening, Robbie. How are you? He says, big up Jose and all the chat. Hope you're all doing well. Yeah, nice lad, Robbie. Nice lad. Hopefully he will enter the predictions again, because he's entered a few weeks and did really well, and then he hasn't entered the last couple of weeks. Meta Football TV, watched Ajax versus Villa. Gonna be tricky, if I'm honest. I think you're saying it's going to be tricky against Villa. Possibly, I think that's what you're referring to. Descaro says, go watch the Optus Sport interview with Van der Ven. Fantastic stuff. Now, these always leak out on YouTube and that. So, because I don't get Optus Sport here. Descaro, who interviewed Mickey Van der Ven? Because I heard not heard, someone made a comment earlier, and I just want to see whether it's the same person that actually interviewed him that someone was saying earlier. So yeah, let us know who interviewed Mickey Van der Ven for Optus Sport. Was a good interview. So David's seen it as well and says it was a good interview. Mark Schwarzer. Okay, so therefore, okay, so now I know what to look for. So when I've got a moment, I will look for the Van der Ven interview. I'll look for it on YouTube and it will come up, and I'll be able to see it. So thank you for letting me know. So it's Mark Schwarzer. Spurs GCTV says, my head says 2-1 win, but my heart says we spank them 5-0. Always go with the heart. David Shears, 3-1 Spurs. And you're saying that VDV worried me after last week, Jose. Why did VDV worry you after last week? I don't understand, because I thought VDV had a good game. And then David says, interesting to see the PR tactics after the announced price hike. Yeah, do you know what, David? I mean, I can only repeat what I said earlier. And what I said earlier, David, is for me, the cost of inflation, or the inflation here in this country at the moment in England, and has been like this for the last couple of years, and with everything that's going on here, everything's hiked. Everything has been hiked up. So everything that you're so salaries have hiked, electricity's hiked. So absolutely everything, every variable you got to pay for has hiked up. So it's no surprise to me that they've upped the prices everywhere. Everywhere has upped their prices. So there's no one. I don't think I've heard of anyone at the moment that's frozen their prices for next season. All the clubs I've heard from so far have upped their prices. Now, what by what percentage points and that I don't know, but so far I've heard that everyone's upped their prices, and it doesn't surprise me. What I think is wrong is what they've done with the concessions that the older people get. I think that's completely wrong what they've done there. I mean, I hear people say the argument, and I'm not on the right side or the wrong side of this, by the way, people, just to let you know. But I hear people argue and say that the older people, they're taking away the support from the older supporters because they want the tourist supporters, because they'll spend money. Yet we've got lots of people within the community. We have lots of people within our community that season ticket holders that go to matches and clearly turn around. I've heard people on streams today turning around and say, "Yeah, I bought a top out of the shop, or I've bought a hat out of the shop, or I went and bought a pint at the ground out of the bar, or I went and bought a sandwich or something to eat at the, you know, in whatever they've got in the stadium." So therefore, that's all money that's still going back in. And the people that are talking about that weren't younguns. They weren't youngsters either. They're probably people that are in the bracket that I'm talking about now on these concessions. So I think that's all wrong because, in fact, it shows that the older brigade that go to the matches, they still spend, they still put money into the club's coffers, if that makes sense. They're still putting money into the club's coffers by buying things at the shop or buying something to eat or having a drink and stuff like that. And for that reason, to drop the concessions down and by percentage points every year, because it's already been announced, all the way up to 2029, I think, is telling you how much the concessions will drop by for these people. I think that's all wrong, and that part I can't really agree with that part. And I think if it's the reasons that people are spouting at the moment, oh, it's going to turn away the loyal supporters away. I don't know whether that argument stacks up because the loyal supporters are actually spending money other than the season ticket or the match day ticket. They're spending money on other stuff at Tottenham as well. So I don't know whether that argument stacks up. But you shouldn't be turning away or turning your back on lifelong support, is what I'm going to say. And that's my two pennies thrown in on that because I'm not sitting on the fence of um, yeah, I'm going to sit on the fence. I'm not going to pick a side on this one, but I think I can see arguments to both sides. But yeah, the price hike has happened everywhere, and the other part is the part that I do not agree with. Um, say, yeah, Tricky versus Villas. Chris is saying David's confirming it was David Schwarzer again. Ronnie's saying Aston Villa 3, Tottenham 4. So you believe there's going to be goals then? There's going to be goals. Okay. Um, but Ryan G reckons it's going to be a tool draw. It's interesting. I want to see when guys do predictions tomorrow, what they're going to predict for all the games. What we got? Let me have a look. What we got because I haven't even looked. I haven't even got tomorrow planned and sorted out yet. So what do we have? So tomorrow's Friday, and there is no match tomorrow night. So Saturday. So what we have, the early kickoff on Saturday is Man United versus Everton. Then on Saturday at 3 o'clock, we have Bournemouth, Sheffield United, Palace, Luton, Wolves, Fulham. That's going to be a tasty game. And then at 5:30, we've got Arsenal versus Brentford, which I think could be a tasty game. Um, and then on Sunday at 1 o'clock, you have Villa versus Tottenham. At 2 o'clock, you have Brighton versus Nottingham Forest. And you have West Ham versus Burnley. And then at 3:45 on Sunday, you've got Liverpool versus Man City. And then the Monday night game is Chelsea versus Newcastle United. Yeah, there's some tasty games there. There's some tasty games there. So Sunday's tasty because Sunday you've got Brighton versus Forest, So you've got Brighton, who've just been spanked in Europe, looking to play against Forest, who are getting players back into their team and looking to get points. You've got West Ham, who've travelled tonight to Germany and been beaten 1-0. And they put out first team, by the way, tonight, West Ham. They played with Kudos, Bowen, Ward-Prowse. They had the whole first team. Alvarez, Soucek, Soufal, Zuma. They played with their full team tonight. They were only beaten 1-0 by Freiburg. But then they're at home to Burnley on Sunday, and Burnley need results. But yeah, it is what it is, isn't it? I think Wolves Fulham will be a tasty game. Wolves Fulham will be definitely a tasty game in my eyes, I think. But yeah, it's the first look I've really had. I knew that we played Villa, but it's the first look I've really had at any other teams that are playing. Ryan G says, hope I'm wrong and use win. Dekaru says, Schwarzer also had some great comments about Vic and his own memories of playing at White Hart Lane. Dave Shear says, I can see player prices being decreased. And Dekaru says, the 20-minute interview with VDV, he's an Ajax fan and was at the game with his father when Lucas scored the last second winner. Yeah, so someone said this earlier, and it's obviously you guys because you guys can watch it in Australia. And because you guys can watch it in Australia, or you get first dibs because it's come out in Australia up to sport. You guys have told us all about, or someone said it on the earlier stream on Talk and Ball, that yeah, he was at the game against Tottenham versus Ajax, and he supports Ajax. So there we go. Watched a Korean vlog. They spent nearly £400 in the Spurs shop. Yeah, I've got no doubts that they probably spent that. But what I was trying to say, Ronnie, is that when I hear people arguing and saying they're trying to decrease the money from the loyal supporter that's been lifelong because Levy's under the impression they don't spend money and they're going to get more money from tourist supporters. I don't think that stacks up wholly because the people we have within the community that have spoken about this today have spoken about how they go to the game and they end up, someone says they ended up buying a top, someone bought something, some other merchandise from the shop. People say they eat at the ground. People say they drink at the ground. So money's still going back in to Tottenham from even the lifelong supporters who have been vilified in the sense of they're dropping their concessions. So the argument doesn't really stack, that people are saying, yeah, but Levy's doing that to get rid of the lifelongs to bring in the tourist support because the lifelong ones are actually spending money at the ground as well. Now, whether they spend as much as a Korean vlogger, I don't know, but they're still spending money, is what I'm saying. Hikaru says, this is the one Spurs game where I don't think there will be many goals. Interesting. Ryan G, tough game for us right now. Fulham are playing well and we started picking up injuries. Jose, when you send me the fixtures in order so I can get the predictions in order? Put it on my tab, Copper. Okay, fair enough. I understood you. Dekaru, nice that Spurs have an early game. Midnight is much better than 3 a.m. So obviously, yeah, an early game on Sundays 1 o'clock. So that would make it midnight. Yes, midnight for you, Dekaru, and it will be 7 in the no, yeah, later than that, won't it? It's 9 o'clock in the evening for David and for Chang because Chang's doing the watch along with us. So it'll be 9 o'clock in the evening for Chang. Chang does well. Chang does well because he must get knackered. He must get knackered, but he does well. David here, Ryan, I really like your manager, Cobber. Imagine still having Neves, though Lamina is a ripper. Fulham are well coached, is what Stay Humble saying. And then Ryan G says, Lamina has been quality for us, David. And for me, Neves was overrated. Said it for a while. And there's a lot of you saying, talking to each other here. And then you've got Ryan G says, Neves scored great goals, but was not a world-class player. Our fans made him out to be. He slowed the game down too much. Not saying he wasn't good, though. And we've got Ronnie saying, I agree, bad about the seniors. Jose, my dad has been going to Spurs since the 60s. And that's what I'm saying, Ronnie. I think, as I said, to me, uh, and I don't really want to labour it, but to make it clear, I think that the prices here in this country have gone up for absolutely everything. So therefore, that's going to have a knock-on effect on any business, on what they charge and what they don't charge, and how much they're going to put it up by. Um, CPI is normally about 4 point. I think if you look at mobile phones and technologies and shit like that, I think CPI bills went up by over 4% just on electronics alone. So if you've got a mobile phone and you've got a contract, or sorry, right, it's going up by 4% CPI. If you've paid for the satellite packages and stuff like that, it's like I got Sky, and they've announced that all the packages that I've got on Sky, they've told me how much the increase is and what the CPI is. So everything goes up now. Whether other football teams have gone up by 6% or not, I don't know. But it was obvious to me that because of everything that's going on in England at the moment, the prices would have gone up for. Well, I don't know a team that hasn't put their prices up yet. But the bit about the seniors, the people that have been going and lifelong fans, I don't agree with that at all. I really don't. I just, and then where people are arguing at the moment. So you've got a lot of the people. I'm not going to say a lot of people in a certain camp are saying Levy's done this to out the seniors because they don't spend money. But I know the seniors do spend money because I've heard it from myself, from people all day today, and I hear it from other people when they go to the games as well. And you know, I'm fairly old. I'm quite old myself, and you know, I've got people that I know of my age group from the 70s have been going, not the 60s, but from the 70s, and they still spend money, and at the ground. I mean, their families, not only do they support Tottenham, but their sons, daughters, and their granddaughters, their grandsons have been brought up supporting Tottenham. So when you go to buy presents, you're buying everything from the Tottenham shop. So to say that the seniors are not spending money is a bit of a it's a bit of a mad one. So yeah, that's what I'm saying with that. So you've got stay humble. Oh no, the early kickoff curse better not happen. Stay humble. It just means to me, it just means that we've had a week to prepare for the game, or 8 days, should I say, right? The earlier the game is, the less time Villa have got to prepare for it because they play tonight. That's the way I'm looking at it. But at the end of the day, Villa have got to deal with themselves, and they've got to front up and put a team out against us. And Tottenham have to do that as well. I'm more concerned of what we do than what they do. So yeah. Sanchez, good evening, Sanchez. How are you, mate? I hope you're well. It says I get Spurs phone. I get Spurs. My phone my missus up to sell tickets. Think the last quote was over 500 quid for two adults and two kids. They're jokers. Hello, hermano. Hello, my friend. How are you? I hope you're well. Um, I reckon we have had a good season with our limited squad. Stay Humble's also saying Spurs fans need to do a walkout against Luton at home to protest against inflation and for the seniors. I don't think Stay Humble. The people that you need to protest against inflation, right, will probably be the government, because the government are the ones that set these things, you know. And we've had some mismanagement in some of the governments for years. I'm not going to blame the Conservatives at the moment, because I've obviously a lot older than a lot of people, and I've seen all the different parties come in, and they've all done things to smash the economy up and get us to where we are now. So, I mean, for people that lived through Tony Blair, Tony Blair did really, really well in giving to the people, but giving to the people. We couldn't afford to give it, but he gave it all to the people. And then once they lost power and the Conservatives came in, they then had to rectify everything that Labour had done for them 12 years or whatever. And then we were put in austerity. We had austerity measures for a long, long time. And I wouldn't like to go back to all that again. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. But, stuff to do with inflation, the protest is against the government, mate. It's not against the football team, because the football team uh, have to go with whatever inflation is. It's the government that set that. As for the seniors, though, you got a point. Yeah, you could stage a protest about the seniors, and I think that they will do that. They will do that anyway. So, um, Dave Shear says a top line Samsung is about £1,500 here. To buy a Samsung, what, an S, whatever they are, the S24s or whatever, is 1,500 quid. Well, if that's the case, then there's going to be a similar amount for whatever the iPhone model is now. I don't know what the iPhone model is, but I got myself an iPhone 14 last year, right? And I bought it in May, right? I bought it on contract, but I bought it in May and I still haven't used it. I bought it in May and I'm still using my iPhone XR. So I'm still using my iPhone XR where I've bought another phone, 14 to replace this one, and I still haven't used it. So yeah, at least I know that when I do end up using it, my battery life will last longer than the contract I got it on. But there we go. Uh, Stay Humble said Villa has had 2 games in a week and are still 6 points ahead of our 1 game a week season. It's not good enough. Villa are 5 points ahead of us. We have the game in hand. Villa have not played 2 games a week every week. It's only been now that they've played in Europe. They haven't played in Europe since probably December because Villa topped their group, which meant they didn't have to play the extra game. None of the British sides had to play the extra game because all the British sides won their group. So um, Liverpool won their group, Brighton won their group, West Ham won their group, and Aston Villa won their group. So none of the 4 teams in the Europa or the Conference needed to play the extra round of matches. So that means they haven't played since December because all 6 games, group games, would have taken place before December, before Christmas. So the 2 games a week, Villa haven't had to play that until now. This is their week that they've had to play it because it's the next round since they last played in December. So they're not playing 2 games a week, and unless they're in all the other cup competitions, they haven't played 2 games a week. Same crap here. David's referring to inflation. Ryan G says anyone who puts in power in this country are absolutely useless. You said it, Ryan. You said it. I didn't. Yeah, you said exactly what's on my mind. Uh, All right, okay, I'm going to start this. Spurs GCTV has just said something, so I'm going to start it. Chris Meta Football says Villa have more options squad wise, in his opinion. Um, I reckon they're about the same, Chris, to be honest. Um, just that they have, I think Villa have got a lot of unknown youngsters that they have to throw in, like your Rogers that played tonight, your Imbagungen that played tonight as well, and they had others on the bench. There's a lot of youngsters that they've got that they throw in, but I'm not sure whether they have more options than us. But yeah, it's something that I'd have to look into, but I don't know whether they've got more options than us at the moment. Um, Decaro too humble. I put Spurs to finish 8th. I would have been happy with that at the start of the season. To say 5th isn't good enough. And David Shear says, I leased mine, don't ask, paid phone outright, then had to pay 500 Australian dollars to keep the bugger. I use about 12% of the technology. Right, I've got a question here. And Spurs GCTV, I've been waiting and I've been going for 49 minutes, and it's the first person to actually ask me a question. Um, and David Clark, hello, David. Good evening. Says Torres came off injured in the first half in tonight's game, which, yeah, we discussed Villa earlier and we said that. So, yeah, you just, yeah, he came off at half time. Right, first question I've been given is enough of football price politics. Question: Star Wars or Star Trek? I am fully engaged and fully on board with Star Wars. I've watched every one of the Star Wars films since Star Wars came out in 1977. I've watched every single one at the cinema. The last one being in 2000 and was it 19 or 21? I went to see the last one. Anyway, I can't remember. It's been a fair few years since the release one. So for me, it's Star Wars. I will watch Star Wars, and every single one that comes out in the cinema, I will go and watch. Star Trek, the only Star Trek I didn't watch this. I watched the series. I watched the series as a kid because that's what was on. So I remember watching Star Trek. I remember watching Space 1999. They were the kind of stuff that I used to watch when I was a kid. But film-wise for Star Trek, the only Star Trek film that I've ever got invested in and watched is Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan, and that's the only one that I've ever watched film-wise. But for me, it's Star Wars all the way. Ryan G is I'd go Star Wars, but not watched much of Star Trek. Um, David Clark says Star Wars. It was more believable. Dekaru says I was 7 years old when I sat in that cinema and the opening space cruiser flew over my head. The first movie, that first movie, I loved it. There we go. So Star Wars there as well. Ryan G, that would be great. Oh no, speaking of football, uh, David Shear said, "Yep, Star Wars hands down." Though loved the old Doctor Who. When you say you loved the old Doctor Who, David Shear, which Doctor Who are you referring to? Because there has been so many of them, and I call them all old now because yeah, they stay for a number of years, some shorter than others, as you're aware. And then what they end up doing is they end up going, dying off, and then the next one comes along. So uh, when you're saying that you love the old Doctor Who, who is the old Doctor Who that you're referring to? Spurs GCTV is coming with Star Wars all day long. Um, David Shears watch Star Wars. Yes, look who we got in the house. Es Leo. ¿Cómo estás, hermano? ¿Todo bien? Right, so we have Leo. Right, so he says John Pertwee and Peter Baker, Jose. Or Tom Baker, sorry, Tom Baker. John Pertwee and Tom Baker. So you're talking about watching Doctor Who in the 1970s then, because Pertwee and Baker were 70s doctors. So yeah, that's a bit of a. I think the 70s. You tell me if I'm wrong, Mr. Shear. Mile High Hotspur says huge hug to all the homies in the chat. Big hugs to you, my brother. Big hugs to you. Uh, Chris says Star Wars is really the first three, 1977, etc. Not that rubbish that came out about Anakin and the newest 3 or 4 films. So Star Wars came out, and number Star Wars was number 4, but was the first one out, right? Empire Strikes Back was number 5, but was the second film out, and The Return of the Jedi was 6, but was the third film out. Yeah, so they went out and they did in order. If you're looking at episodes, it's 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9 is the way that they did it. But yeah, the first 3 films were absolutely for people that are older, they're going to remember the first 3 films, and people will probably turn around and say that the first 3 films were the best out of the whole franchise. But all the newer kids on the block, the young uns as I call them, the reason why they love the others better than the old ones, and you get it now, is because of AI and stuff, how they make the films nowadays, where they didn't have all that stuff back in our day when these first 3 came out. These first 3 films were absolutely groundbreaking, weren't they? The first 3 Star Wars that came out were absolutely groundbreaking, but we didn't have all the AI and stuff that they have nowadays, and it makes it look. Does it make it look realistic in your eyes, guys, or not? Do you know what I mean? I don't know, but it doesn't. Does it make it look realistic? What the way that they do it now? Um, I mean, who didn't like themselves a bit of Princess Leia when they were young? Eh? Who? She was good eye candy for all the young kids, Princess Leia. You know, I mean, I'm sure the women will then turn around and talk about Harrison Ford and stuff like that. But yeah, Princess Leia was definitely eye candy for kids when I was young, anyway. Um, who you got? You've got Hikaru says, I think Baker Doctor Who was the 80s, was it? I thought Baker and Pertwee was 70s. I might be wrong, but I thought it was around that time because I remember them. So seeing that I remember them, I thought they were probably the 70s. Um, Ryan T says, my phone's about to die whilst I'm walking the dog, Jose. I'll be back like in 20, 30 minutes if you're still live. If not, I will catch you on the prediction show with Colin. Ryan, you take care of yourself, son. If I'm still on, then you're more than welcome to come in to the chat and partake as you do so well, sir. He's saying that I'm right, David Shear. Keep answering. I've only had one question tonight. Strange. Right. Maha Hospital says, all good over here, homies. Cobo, GCTV, Chris Meta Football, Saludos Loco. Star Wars at the Drive in 1977, cloudless night, shooting stars everywhere. And so imagine being there in a drive-through watching the film, cloudless night with shooting stars everywhere, and the film starts, and all of a sudden the spaceship comes over your head. God, how good is that? You haven't even got the stars that they've got in the film, but you've also got natural stars as well. Fantastic. Chris says exactly. So 4, 5, and 6 are the Bogs Dollocks. Yeah, Dakari. Yeah, 4, 5, and 6 are clearly the best. Just well written stories. Stay Humble says a bit off topic, but I like the Hobbit series over the Lord of the Rings series. I have not watched the Hobbit series or Lord of the Rings. I must be one of the only people in the world that hasn't watched these. Haven't read the books, haven't watched them, nothing at all. Nothing excited me about them when I was a kid, and I've never watched them. My family members have, I haven't. So I couldn't really comment. Other people might be able to comment on this, but I can't because I've not watched The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings. More realistic back then, as now we're not as naive. Yeah. Luke definitely liked Leia until he found out it was his sister. Yeah, that's true. And Leia with Tom Baker, 1977 Tom Baker, right. So it was Baker in the 70s. So John Pertwee was before Baker. So I'm presuming that Pertwee did it in the 70s rather than the 60s. Although he could have done it in the 60s. And then we've got Tom Baker was the Doctor Who until 1981. So yes, he would have been in the 70s. They covered, like I said. Right. Next question we've got for you guys and for everyone is another sci-fi question, and again from Spurs GCTV. Spurs GCTV, am I gaining traction here that you like sci-fi? Because he says aliens or predators. Oh, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. Okay, right. So it's a tough one, but I'm going to go for aliens over predators. And the reason why I'm going for aliens is I thought aliens was well written, and I thought Sigourney Weaver played the part really, really well. And I think they've had four films, 3 or 4 films of aliens. Predators had 2 or 3. Predators was just, yeah, one of them was really, really good, Predators, but then the others became a bit samey and even more far-fetched than the first one. But I found aliens. I thought aliens, alien insurrection, or whatever it's called. I thought they were all good, well spaced out, and had good stories as they went along. Predators started off with a story in the jungle, didn't it? 6 alien films is there, and how many Predator films are there? 3, 2 or 3. I'm being told by my daughter there's 6 alien films. So there we go. So the franchise has 6. Um, so but with Predators, it went from being in a jungle trying to save someone who they weren't really saving. They were just out there to take the Predator, but they didn't realize at the time. And the first one, I found the first Predator was absolutely good. I found that really, really good. But then we got up to the Predators where they were then in one of the American cities, and it became so far fetched. Then a Predator in an American city, I can imagine a Predator being in the jungle, but in an American city, I was just like, wow. But Aliens, yeah, I found Aliens had me hooked more so than Predators. So I'm gonna go Aliens. So um, Lord of the Rings was an amazing production indeed. Haven't seen The Hobbits though. It's from Chris. Um, Spurs GC2 says I like all sorts of films, but sci-fi probably edges it. Okay, I was wondering because you've asked a couple, so but yeah, keep the questions coming. Absolutely brilliant. Chris, my mate, was a production manager in the first Lord of the Rings, and he knows the manager of the Sydney Opera House. Interesting. And David's saying that the first um, Aliens film, Aliens one, was brilliant. So it's called Alien. Was the first one. Um, Dakaru says never got into Predator, never liked it. The first Alien movie actually frightened me as a child. My parents let me watch it in all its chest busting glory. Um, Neither. However, the only scene I like out of Aliens is when the critter comes out of John Hurt's stomach in Spaceballs. David Clark, the best two Doctor Who's were William Hartnell, 63 to 69, and Patrick Troughton, since 66 to 69. We've been told we have a historian here who's older than me, so I couldn't have told you. I remember William Hartnell, the name and the actor. I don't remember Patrick Troughton though. But it's interesting. So William Hartnell played a Doctor from 63 to 69, but Troughton played it from 66 to 69. I thought Doctors were killed off and formed into another Doctor. But according to this, we've had two Doctors at the same time for 3 years. Unless you've got some of the years a bit out, I'm not sure, mate. Um, David Shear says, Pale Rider and Tombstone are my best westerns. People, David's not asked a question, but he's put out there what he likes as his westerns or his best westerns. What are your best westerns? And suppose GCC says Alien, Edges, Predators for me. Yeah, same as me, same as me. I like the first one, like I said, first Predators. But westerns, like for westerns, I like or I liked the good, the bad, and the ugly. I like that as a western. Uh, yeah, yes, I thought so, David Clark. I thought it was a little bit weird because one had to die off. Um, so you said so. I liked. Are you sorry, David? Are you telling us to choose between Pale Rider and Tombstone? Yeah, the good, the bad, and the ugly is what I liked as a western. I also liked, I don't know why, but Clint Eastwood in The Outlaw Josie Wales. I really enjoyed that film. Um, but the good, the bad, the ugly, and all the sequels to the good, the bad, and the ugly, I actually enjoyed. Lee Van Cleef was an absolute fucking don for me. Lee Van Cleef was a don as a cowboy. He was superb. I used to love Lee Van Cleef as a cowboy. Lee Van Cleef was a really good baddie. He could be your mate. Lee Van Cleef could be your mate, but he was a great baddie as well at the same time. So yeah, I liked Lee Van Cleef. Um, no, just asking what? No, just asking. What's he saying? No, just asking. Fav. Okay. Audio artisan, brilliant. Look, favorite Western has to be Back to the Future 3 with Emmett. What's his name? Emmett Smith or whatever, the Mad Doctor. Um, and it's Mad Dog Buchanan or whatever it was, going after him. Yeah, I remember it. I remember that. Uh, and David Shear is saying, yeah, wasn't he? Lee was awesome. I think Clint Eastwood was superb in westerns. But I like Lee Van Cleef in westerns as well. Um, yeah, there's some good ones. Oh, here we go. Yes, Back to the Future 3 with Doc Brown. What did I call him? Emmett Smith. So he must have been Emmett Brown then. And Biff Tannen. Where, why did I call him Buchanan? It's Biff Tannen. Um, and yeah, Spurs GC3 says any Clint Eastwood film are tops. Westerns, Dirty Harry, and Any Which Way. Right Turn Clyde. Yeah, Any Which Way but Loose. Any Which Way but there was all of there was about three there, weren't there? On the Any Which Way but Any Which Way Any Which Way You Can. Any Which Way But Loose. There's about three of them. Right, that is a top film. People, have you ever seen? It's one of the funniest films ever made. Cowboy film. It's a cowboy comedy, but Blazing Saddles, before its time. Absolutely before its time. Whoever wrote Blazing Saddles was an absolute genius. It was before its time. It was absolutely fantastic. I do remember that. But yeah, it is. Um, Spurs GCTV. David liked the any which way. He's saying about the Clyde bit. But yeah, David Clark, Blazing Saddles, before its time. Before its time. Absolutely brilliant. If you haven't, if no one's watched Blazing Saddles yet, go and watch it. It's an absolutely fantastic. Mel Brooks, that's it. Mel Brooks wrote Blazing Saddles. Brilliant. It's a comedy western, but it's so brilliant. It's about a black sheriff. Absolutely brilliant. It was fantastic film. Before, well written, well before its time. Um, Back to the Future is my favourite trilogy, along with John Wick for Chris Meta. Um, they carry saying, remember the car chase movies like Smokey and the Bandit? Yep, I remember Smokey and the Bandit. That was absolutely superb. See, you guys, I'm not sure whether you guys actually just watch football because you seem to know a lot of other shit. So you guys are well rounded, man. Well rounded. Uh, Spurs GCT is coming in with all the action tonight. Um, Chris Metafort says Mel Brooks with Blazing Saddles and Spaceballs. Yeah. And David Shear saying top secret as well. Spurs GCTV has asked another question. Porkies or American Pie? Right. I'm gonna be honest. I haven't got a fucking clue what American Pie is. All right. But I watched Porkies, and the lead from Porky's died last week, didn't he? The big fella. He died last week, 74 years of age. Died in America last week. But or Meat. They called him Meat, didn't they? And Porky's must have come out in the 70s. Sure, I'm sure it was in the 70s. The Porky's came out, and Porky's was absolutely brilliant. It was hilarious at the time when it came out, um, and you felt naughty by watching Porky's. Um, I would never have watched Porky's. I think we got it on an illegal VHS video. It was back in video times, this was, weren't it? And we got it on an illegal VHS, a pirate copy, and we ended up watching it. But yeah, we watched it in secret, and we felt like naughty kids because we watched it and we had it on pirate. But yeah, for me, it's definitely Porky's because I haven't got a clue what American Pie is. I've never seen American Pie, so I haven't got a clue. So um, Sanchez is coming well. I'm so starring your Sanchez. I'm starring it. Um, David Shear's going Porky's for sure. Dekaru is saying Porky's lol. That's a blast from the past. Chris Meta saying American Pie, haha. Porky's was brilliant, as was Stripes. Uh, American Pie, the record. And Daniel Sandoval, buenas noches, Daniel, o buenas tardes, o buen día a ti. Gracias por estar aquí. And David Shear says meat from the Wanderers as well. Kim Cattrall as Lassie. And Daniel Sandoval is laughing and saying Porky's as well. Right, so Sanchez has now asked us, oh, Derek and Clive or Monty Python? I want to see, David Shear, don't answer straight away. I want to see what you say though, David, because David Shear would know both Derek and Clive and know Monty Python. What do you guys? Do you guys all remember this? I think David Clark will remember Derek and Clive and Monty Python. Some of you other people, I mean, I don't know what your ages are, but I know that David Shear and DC from Leicester would definitely know these. So Chris Metafootball says, haven't seen Derek and Clive. I need to be reminded, was Derek and Clive, was one of them Dudley Moore? Dakari saying, I don't know who Derek and Clive are. I grew up on Monty Python though. So Sanchez fucking hell, the guy just said Dudley Moore, was he one of Derek and Clive? You got Spurs GCTV coming in, so you've got Dakari says I don't know Derek and Clive are, but I grew up on Monty Python. Yeah, so I thought it was. I thought it was. Spurs GCTV is Monty Python for me. David Clark has said Monty Python was sheer genius. They were miles in front of it at the time. They certainly were. Derek and Clive, yeah, were Dudley Moore and Peter Cook. I thought it was Dudley Moore. So I remember watching both. Uh, And I remember, for me, even though I watched both, and I do remember, that's why I said Dudley Moore. And I said that some of the older brigade would remember um, Derek and Clive. I remember seeing Derek and Clive, but for me, hands down, had to be Monty Python for me, I'm afraid. Monty Python was just, yeah, they were just different gravy, weren't they? Um, and they set the foundations for a lot of comedy in this country, in England. They set a lot of the foundations down. Um, but that's not to say that Derek and Clive wasn't good, because it was. But yeah, you're asking me if it's a straight shootout between them both, then I'm going to go with I'm going with Monty Python. I am going to go with Monty Python. Daniel Sandoval's coming in with Monty Python as well. For me, the goodies were like Monty Python Junior. Yeah, were they? Um, yeah, I could see similarities, but I think Monty Python were just, yeah, they were different. They were elite compared to the goodies. Um, yeah, they were elite compared to the goodies. But I do remember the goodies as well, because they were in the 70s as well. Um, I was very young. Derek and Clive like to use the C word a lot, is all the artists are saying. And Chris Metafoot was telling me now, Jose, I need to get watching American Pie. I'm presuming it's a film. It's not a show. It's a film. Because if it's a show, I don't know whether I can fucking stick another show onto my playlist at the moment. But if it's a film, then it's not so bad. If it's a film, I can probably watch it. Who's in it anyway? Who the fuck is in American Pie? Um, yeah, I haven't got a clue. So you'll have to let me know. Um, any more questions? Because it's certainly, these questions have certainly got the chat talking. Um, here we go. Look at that. It's a film, is it, Chris? Okay, well, if it's a film, I'll probably end up. I can put it on my list to watch. David Shear says, I loved the plank as well in Eric Sykes and Arthur Lowe skits. Yeah, I remember that as well. David Clark saying, Dudley Moore and Peter Cook were the best two at man talking in a pub. Their wit could make you wet yourself. But that's what it was, wasn't it? Their sketches was about two people in a pub. It was always like that, their sketches. Their sketches didn't tend to involve too many other people, did it? So um, it was what it was. Um, Instead of the goodies, was it the Goonies? Was the Goonies, or am I making this up? Was the Goonies with Peter Sellers and people like that, which was back in the 60s, 70s? Was there something called the Goonies? I'm sure there was something called the Goonies. Um, what's he saying here? Jose, a film. Look out this one time at Bandcamp. So is that the name of the film? This one time at Bandcamp. Is that what you're saying, Spurs GCTV? That I have to look out for a film by that name? Uh, Chris is saying my favourite was Some Mothers Do Have 'Em. Betty, Betty, Betty. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Uh, we had a record. We had a record single from the Goonies. And Sanchez is telling me the Goons, Jose, the Goons. That was with Peter Sellers and that, weren't it? Um, the Goons was with Peter Sellers and a few others. There was a group of comedians that made the Goons, weren't it? Was Spike Milligan one of them? Spike Milligan, Peter Sellers. I mean, I might be talking shit, but I think I remember these people actually being about. So the Goons is with Harry Seacon, Spike Milligan, and two others, maybe Peter Sellers and another. This is what David Shear's saying. So yeah, I thought I weren't making it up. I thought so. The Goons, yeah. I remember Spike Milligan, I remember Peter Sellers, and I knew there was others as well. There's a group of them, but yeah, they were quite funny. Um, yeah, Dakar is now saying Goons. Oh, what a long time ago. Yes, Spike was in it. So yeah. Um, You've got Sanchez, Bethnal Green saying, remember Citizen Smiths. Yes, Goon Sellers, Spike, and Harry Seacon. Yeah, Citizen Smith, power to the people, the tooting front or whatever it's called. The Tooting Freedom Fighters Front or something. They used to call himself Citizen Smith, didn't they? Robert Lindsay, I think his name was, who played Citizen Smith. Right, two questions coming in from Daniel Sandoval. It's more for the chat as well. He's saying, Atari or Commodore 64? For me, it was Atari because Atari was the first one that I played out of them. I don't think I played Commodore 64 much. Atari I did, um, and Atari used to make. They were. Do people remember people that lived in England or were in England back in the 70s and maybe early 80s? If you went to a pub, so if you went in your pub because your parents were going in for a drink and that, and your kids could go in there, you'd go into a pub, right? And what would end up happening is they'd have these tabletop games. So it was a game that was played on a tabletop, and you had to look down at it and play, and it was all like Space Invaders and all stuff like that. And it was all made by Atari. And that's the first time I'd ever played games where you had to look down and you played a tabletop game while you were in the pub and your parents were having a drink and you was having a Coke and a packet of crisps or whatever when you was a kid, and you'd play the tabletop games. And it was like a screen that was flat on a table, but you used to have to watch it and play with the buttons on down the sides and all that. But that's the first I can ever remember. So for me, I would say Atari. Um, Chris is saying both were good, Atari and a C64. I'm glad you said C64. I thought you was talking about a Sinclair C5 there for a minute, Chris. Spurs GCTV says he had a Commodore 64. Dakaru saying Atari all the way. Anything you needed to play, a cassette to load a program. Rubbish. um, right, where we jump into next. So that's from Daniel Sandoval. So Daniel, what did you prefer, the Atari or the Commodore 64? A lot of people have given you answers here, but I don't know what you're saying, mate. Are you saying Atari or Commodore 64? Which one is you? Which one is you? Um, right, so I don't know whether Daniel's still with us, but I'm sure that he'll give us his answer. The next one we've got is coming in from Audio. Audio's got time on his hands. Look at this. Audio is saying high karate or old spice. High karate or old spice. Right, so for the people that are a bit older, they should remember these two. Um, I have never ever used high karate, could not tell you what it smells like, but as a very, very young adolescent, and I'm talking young, um, I had splashed Old Spice on my face, probably before I could even shave. That shows you how young I was. But Old Spice was in a little bottle with red writing, I think it was, a little whitish bottle with red writing. And I think uh, karate, if I remember rightly, was karate like a really, it was a glass bottle that was like golden color liquid, and it had like a mad karate symbol sign on it. And if that's the case, then I'm going to say I've never used karate, but Old Spice before I could even shave. Um, so that's me. David here is saying Old Spice. Um, Ronnie used to love Blitz on the Commodore 64. David saying around that time you had Blue Stratos. Um, and Chris is saying karate what? Give over. Um, David DC from Leicester saying, don't know the film, but it was the funniest clip I've ever seen. It was a famous actor being chased by a Mohican for miles as he always stayed in the same distance in front of him until he got to the fort. I don't know, you kind of lost me on that. I don't know. I can't remember. Danielle preferred Atari to the Commodore 64. So he asked the question and he's come back in with the answer. He preferred Atari. Spurs GCTV. Old Spice of the two, both better than Brute 33. Brute 33 was a green bottle, if I remember rightly. I remember Brute 33, that was a green bottle. And weren't Brute 33 what Henry Cooper, R. Henry, what he used to plug? So he used to do the adverts for him, didn't he? David Shears said Brute 33 was a shocker. um, right, so we've answered that one for audio. Audio, which one did you prefer? Because we're all answering. We need to know which one you preferred. So what did you prefer, audio? Did you prefer karate or did you prefer Old Spice. Next question we got starred is, and I think we got two starred. Right, people. Chris is asking, is Die Hard a Christmas film? Is Die Hard a Christmas film? We're being asked. While you're answering people, is Die Hard a Christmas film? You've got Chris. Chris is saying, and that's how long David Clark hasn't had a TV license for. And Mr. Clark has come back and said, put it this way: when you're splashing Old Spice on yourself in the bathroom, make sure you have your underpants on because you don't want it splashing down there. um, I was Old Spice too, is what Audio's answered his own question. He was Old Spice too. So for Chris Meta Football has asked that question, and so people, is Die Hard a Christmas film? Is the question that's being asked at the moment. Is Die Hard a Christmas film? What say you, crowd? Spurs GCTV says, yes, it's a Christmas film in my opinion. Anyone else want to come in and chime in on whether Die Hard is a Christmas film? Is Die Hard a Christmas film, people? What say you? Chris Metaphor. Right, hold on. You've got Spurs GCTV. Dekara says yes, it is. And Chris Meta Football saying no, not in my opinion, no. So Chris, you've asked a question and you're saying no. Uh, David Shear saying it's a Christmas film, and David Clark says it's a Christmas cracker. I know that. Right, two schools of thought here. Right, with Die Hard is Die Hard is set in the Nagatomi Tower at Christmas because there's a Christmas party. But there's a Christmas party. But when you watch that film, do you see Christmas decorations around everywhere or just in that party on the 92nd floor, whatever it was? 42nd floor, whatever it was. Christmas party is going ahead in this building on the 42nd floor. However, when he gets to the airport and all the way when he's driving through to the Nakatomi building, I did not see one Christmas decoration or anything about Christmas at all. So to me, like I said, I don't think it was even. I think the film may or may not have been released around Christmas time, right? But the only part of the film that's got anything Christmassy is a party on the 42nd floor. But when he gets picked up from the airport and all that and goes all the way to Nakatomi Towers, not once did I see any Christmas decorations or anything to do with Christmas all the way through. I never saw nothing. It's the same as if you watch Die Hard 2. Die Hard 2, yeah, there's snow on the runway, there's snow in the fields and in the areas beside the runway, but where was the Christmas element of that one as well? So for me, I'm going to say no, it's not a Christmas film. Although it always comes out at Christmas, it's not a Christmas film, is my opinion on that. In the script, there was Christmas references. Was there? If there was, then I must have closed my ears, Mr. Shear. I must have closed my ears. So, Chris, in answer to that, I don't believe that Die Hard is a Christmas film. Next question is from Daniel Sandoval. Right. So, Daniel Sandoval is asking a question that some of us may or may not be able to answer is Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat? Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat? What say you, the crowd, and the people in the chat? Are you Street Fightering or you Mortal Kombating? Chris Meta Football is 100% behind Street Fighter. There's your first answer, Danielle. David Clark is neither. David Shear is going for Street Fighter. So you've got two people in the Street Fighter. Dakari says Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat. That's easy. Frogger. Sanchez Bethnal Green is going for Mortal Kombat. Which one was the one that goes Aruken? Because that's the one that I played. I think I've played both. I know that I've played one more than the other. I've played one more than the other. Okay, right. Sorry, I had to ask the question of my kids because they're in the next room. So I asked my son just to confirm that I'm right in what I'm going to say on this one. Right. Double Dragon, David Shear. Double Dragon's got to be one of the oldest games ever. Cool. Double Dragon's probably the first kind of 1D game that was there. Um, I say for me, I'm gonna go for Street Fighter because Street Fighter was with Ken, Ryu, and all them lot, weren't it? And I know that I played a lot more Street Fighter. I didn't. Let me say, I didn't play much of these games. These two games you're talking about, because I wasn't much of the kind of. I didn't like all these type of games. Um, I like games where you had to put thought in it and not just fighting and the shoot 'em ups and all that. I don't do all them kind of games. I never did when I was a kid. Many of them games at all. But uh, out of these two, I've probably played Street Fighter more. I remember Street Fighter more, so I'm gonna have to say Street Fighter for Street Fighter for that. Although they weren't my most favourite games because I never hardly played them. Um, you've got Mortal Kombat on 64 for Daniel Sandoval. They currently never played these games. And then we've been asked another question, which people are starting to answer, but I will come to the question when I get to it because there's a question before that. Chris Meta Football says, my boy kicked my ass the other day at the arcades playing Street Fighter in La Coruña. Bless him. Fantastic. And you've got Sanchez, Bethnal Green, saying, Kung Fu Master was a good game. Ya Kung Fu was good. Exploding Fist on Commodore 64. Um, so that was the question from Danielle. The next question we've got, and I've got two starred at the moment. The next question we got from Sanchez. He says, it's a World Cup and it's Spain England final. Who do you support? And what I will do is I will ask, I don't know whether Leo's here, but Danielle is here. So it'd be interesting to see what Danielle says. And it'd be interesting what Chris says. I've got a feeling I know what Chris is going to say. Um, David Shear. Netherlands. Toxic headshot. Good evening, Toxic. Toxic headshot is coming with Spain. If England play Spain in the final, Toxic's picking Spain. David Shear's picking England. I know why I've been asked this question. I've been asked because it's been asked towards me, but I'm asking what other people would answer. Um, remember, I've been to England versus Spain. So I went to England versus Spain. I went to England versus, sorry, I went to Romania versus Spain in the 1996 Euro Championships here in England at Ellen Road. And it was the last group game for Spain. And we won 2-1 at Ellen Road. And I went to that game. And that was on the Tuesday or something like that. And then on the Saturday, I went to England versus Spain in the quarterfinals of the Euro Championships, which England won on penalties. Spain had a disallowed goal, which was clearly onside, and it was given as offside, but it was clearly shown to be onside. And then Spain missed a couple of penalties, with Nadal missing the all important one at the end. Um, so, and when I went to that game, and in all honesty, I went to that game with my family and friends, and they all had Spanish tops and Spanish scarves and everything like that. But I also went. We went about 60-handed to that game, and there was a load of Spanish people that went, but I went with a load of English supporters as well, and we had We had VIP tickets at the Hilton, Wembley Hilton, beside the stadium, the old stadium that is, where we went for drinks and whatever before the game. Then we went in and watched the game in Wembley, and then we come out of Wembley and we had tickets back to go back into the Hilton because back then at Wembley, when England played Wembley back then, and even now, try and find a pub near Wembley Stadium. It's fucking difficult to try and find a pub anywhere near the stadium. You have to go a bit. You have to go a bit to find a pub. You'll be lucky if you can find a pub within about a 20-minute walk from the stadium. So the fact that we had tickets for the Hilton for before and after the game, we actually, I remember people, Tim Sherwood was there. A lot of the Blackburn players, were in the Hilton that weren't playing for England at the time, were at the Hilton with us in this VIP area that we had when we were eating and drinking. And we actually, after the game, we went back in there and we didn't leave till about 3 in the morning. At 3 in the morning, we all ended up getting cabs and going to the West End. But yeah, so then at that game, uh, well, for me, I was on a winner either way. So you're asking me a question which I've answered before, and so I'm going to answer it again. I was on a winner, whatever happens. I was on a winner, whatever happens. So look who's here. It's young Colin.
What's up, buddy?
Hello, Colin. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Work is especially grading today, so it's nice to talk to someone that I like. Yeah.
Fantastic. I've been asked a few questions today. It started off slow, but I've been asked a few questions today. So the question I'm currently being asked at the moment is uh, in a World Cup. It's a World Cup. It's Spain versus an England final. Who do I support? So
I could guess your answer.
no, I've said it already because I said it the other day. I've said it on other shows that I've actually been to the quarter final England Spain game. Although that was the Euros, it's still the same thing. Um, and yeah, to me, I sat on the fence because I went with both parties and I was on the winner, whatever happened. What I will say is in the 2010 World Cup, in the 2010 World Cup, I was behind Spain from minute one. La Roja. I was behind Spain from minute one, and we lost the first game 1-0. I still remember we lost the first game 1-0, and we were European champions because we'd won in 2008, and we lost our first game 1-0, and we went on to end up winning the final against Holland 1-0 in South Africa. And I went out, and we had people that had been out to South Africa had come back, and we were watching in a pub full of Spanish supporters. There was Dutch supporters and a lot of English supporters there as well. But the boys that had been out to South Africa already brought the vuvuzelas back with them.
Oh my
So
God, no way.
we were in the pub with the vuvuzelas going
Oh
mad
my
as
God.
well. So
I was traveling Europe at that World Cup. I got to watch a lot of matches. I was in Germany for a lot of it and got to hang out with Germans and watch Germany play. And yeah, that was a fun World Cup. That was awesome.
so let me see if anyone's answered this. So I'm going to give that as my answer. But the next question, and you come right in on time. So the next question I've got starred is, tell me, keep, bench or sell, the
Oh
Beatles, the
man.
Stones, and the Who. Do you know these three groups?
Oh, I definitely know these three groups very well. Um, so keep the Stones for
I've got
me.
answers here already. So tell us, guys, keep the Stones.
Yep. Bench the Beatles, the Who. God, that's hard, but the Who have to go in my eyes. And the Beatles on the bench, I know is going to anger a lot of people, but I think I don't know. The Beatles are great. I've been to Abbey Road Studios. I've never been to Liverpool or anything like that. But
To the Cavern in Liverpool.
yeah, I need to. That would be awesome. Chris Peters has. He showed me a lot of cool pictures of his. He's really big into music. But yeah, I just don't. There's not that many songs by the Who that like really get me going. And I feel like, and if I say this, God, people are gonna hate me and like unsubscribe from my channel. But that the Beatles are maybe a tiny bit overrated. Maybe. I just like Stones more. There's more. They're a little more rocking, which is my thing.
So the Stones you're keeping. Who you're benching?
Beatles,
You're benching the Beatles and you're selling the Who.
the Who have to go to West Ham or whatever. Yeah,
Okay, fair enough. So we've got some answers in here, and
we'll
you've
see.
got David Clark has gone for keep the Stones, bench the Who, and sell the Beatles.
Damn, it's going in for the throat straight off the
Chris
bat.
Chris Meta Football is saying keep the Beatles, bench the Who, sell the Stones.
Oh man,
You've got Spurs GCTV. He's come in with keep the Who, bench the Beatles, sell the Stones.
dang.
Um, right, and I'm trying to catch up. And then people are talking about the Basques and stuff like that. High Cole, you're getting a high Cole from Spurs GCTV.
Hey,
I'm back,
hey.
and Colin has joined. Big up from Ryan G.
Can't
Dakari
stay
says,
long, unfortunately, but I am here for a bit.
Dakari says, nice tip. Talk to someone I like, as there aren't any of those folk around. We do. um, I will support England, of course, but we need another coach. Even take Jose. Um, 2008 to 2012, Cristian La Roja were unplayable, which they were. They were unplayable in 2012 as well, I believe. Um, so we've been asked a question, and I see people answering it already. I haven't got it yet, and people are already answering it. Um, Sanchez Bethnal Green is saying you'd keep the Beatles, bench the Stones, and latest to the Who. But I love Daltrey solo stuff. McVicker soundtrack.
I'm not
Um,
familiar.
Ryan G says if you had a second team to support, it'd be Barca. Daniel Sandoval is saying keep the Stones, bench the Beatles, sell the Who.
Daniel, we're on the exact same wavelength, buddy. That's what I said.
Ronnie is like really sorry, oh, but he'd sell all three.
Damn,
Who?
Ronnie.
So Ronnie, so you obviously don't like that kind of music. What three bands do you like then, Ronnie? Because then we can understand why you're saying this. Um, David Clark says there were multiple better groups about than the Beatles in England, but the Beatles had a brilliant manager. That's why they were more successful. Dekaru is coming in with keep the Who, bench the Beatles, the Stones can go. We've had a
Stick.
very, it's been varied.
Dekaru's wrong. Just wanted to let you know, Dekaru. I love you. I love you, but you're wrong.
Right. So
Gotta keep it
we
rolling.
got we got that. The next question we got is right. It's from Chris Meta Football. Barca or Madrid?
Barca, without much hesitation. Madrid have taken a lot from us. You know what I mean? Whereas Barca haven't. And we had that stupid special relationship with Madrid that got us shit all. And then, yeah, I just and they've had more like homegrown. It seems like they don't buy their success quite as much as Madrid does. At least they didn't used to with their awesome academy and stuff. Ronaldinho, there's plenty of reasons, but it's definitely for me it's Barca over Madrid.
Barca or Madrid for you. So I've got Ryan G saying Meta Football. It's Barca all day for him. Um, and then he's also firming it up by saying if he had a second team Meta Football, it would have been Barcelona.
Snap.
Then you have Ryan G still on it. I love Barcelona from like 2004 to 2020. Most of those teams were so good, and their players. And then we have got Spurs GCTV says Barca for him, and it's Barca for you, Colin.
Barca for me. What about you, boss man?
For me, it's Real Madrid.
You son of a gun.
For me, it's Real Madrid.
The Galacticos.
No, well before the Galacticos.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
to me, I think politics in Spain gets involved too much in football, and the politics that we have around the regions ain't for me. I remember when we won the World Cup. No, I remember when we won the World Cup in 2010, and I was proud to hold. And I'm Gallego, and in Galicia we've got our own flag, and we've got
Mhm.
our own recognised dialect and everything, and our own flag for the region. But I didn't hold the flag of Galicia when we won the World Cup. I held the flag of Spain, and when I watched some of these players win the World Cup, and then they went to regional flags,
Mhm.
it's quite telling. And how a bit like you get here in England, where people were territorial about the teams that they played for here, and that's why they said England were never successful because there was cliques and stuff like that. How um, the Lvovsky got them all together playing is beyond me because to bring and unite the Madrid and Barcelona players, because the majority of the squads were made out of them two teams, but he united a whole load of people and made them play for one team to put aside the differences and play with one team. And Spain had glory years for 6 years. They had some superb glory years. But yeah, for me, because of that division that you get with the flags and the territories and the politics and that, I'm going to say Madrid. I'm going to be different to everyone else. I'm saying Madrid. Sanchez is saying Bilbao is the only team. Sanchez,
Oh snap!
are you Vasco then? Are you Vasco?
Most
If
I
you're
would say
saying
probably, yeah. That's my guess.
he's got to be Vasco if he's saying Bilbao is the only team.
Yeah,
Because
has
if
to
you
be.
are Vasco, they will turn around and say you have Real Sociedad there as well. So that's all I'm going to say. If you're Vasco, they're going to say that you have Real Sociedad. There are only two great regions in Spain: Castilla, Leon, and the Basque Country. Right. So if you're going to get me going on that, mate, there's only one region in Spain, and that's Galicia. Los gallegos, hostia, mandamos en todo. So
Yeah,
there we go.
I second what Jose said. I sign off on that 100%. So
Uh,
yeah,
David Clark is saying, going back to a previous question, is saying the Temptations, the Drifters, and the chairman of the board. So you know the love in my love in music.
there you
Uh,
go.
next starred question is coming in from Sanchez Bethnal Green.
This will have to be my last one, unfortunately. This I'm good at making these like pop in, pop out appearances.
Got a quick two. First game you cried at. Mine is the UEFA when Parksy saved the penalty.
Shoot, I said it earlier today that I cried at the Champions League final, but I'm sure I cried before that. Let me think. Has anyone in the chat answered yet?
No, you're going first at
Oh
the moment.
man, I definitely cried after we lost the World Cup. Like I know for a fact I cried like an idiot. Like I put a
When we
lot.
lost, when we lost to Liverpool.
Yeah, I invested a lot into that of emotional energy into that, and then to lose that way was just like gut wrenching. And I traveled like hours to watch the game with people, and everybody around was just so deflated, and it was just such a depressing situation. Um, yeah, I mean, shoot, I mean, I'm sure I've cried like maybe no. Oh, okay. So this is I don't know if this counts, but when I played in high school, um, there's this tournament and it's called I don't it's kind of a regional tournament. It's at the end of the season. It's called sectionals,
Yeah.
and we made it further than we ever had before because of a goal that I scored, and it was a flubbed cross that went just underneath the crossbar. In extra time, we won the game, and I definitely cried after that as well. But everybody was so happy. That was good. That was a happy cry. We advanced a stage further than our team had ever advanced. I went to a really small school, and we were really bad at things. And so to advance for us was like a huge accomplishment. And like I said, I ran the length of the pitch. It was late in the match. My legs were like dying. I was cramping up so bad. And I just swung my leg at it, trying to get a cross in for somebody. And I hit it with my left foot, and I'm naturally right footed. And so I hit it with my left foot, and it just kind of went wild and ended up in the top corner right under the crossbar. Beautiful. So yeah, those are the two that I like remember crying at. But I'm sure there've been more. Usually,
So we've
probably
got
beer involved.
two people have answered, and then I'll ask you the last question got started. So you got 81 Cup final for Spurs GCTV, and then you've got Meta Football says cried on the 20th of May 1992 in the Wembley final between Barcelona versus Sampdoria. Was there and cried like a young lad I was. Colin, only 105 meters. Right, and then you've got David Clark. When I played against Eusebio at table tennis when I was 12 years old in the 96 World Cup finals in the motel opposite my school in Harlow, Essex. Dekaru says, tears of joy, Wollongong scoring 3 late goals after a game was virtually over to put the National Soccer League final into penalties against Perth and then win. Right.
Damn.
There's two questions that have been asked, but I'm going to ask you the one quickly. The one that I've got starred. Although there's two, they're quite similar. Someone's been. They're answering the second one. The first one hasn't been answered though. It's who would win in a fight, Ali or Bruce Lee?
Muhammad Ali. He was surprisingly fast. People would probably say Bruce Lee for speed, and I would say that's a good. I mean, it's a solid answer. But Muhammad Ali's deceptively fast. If we're going prime, obviously he's not doesn't move at all now, but deceptively fast, and his shuffle. You've all seen him move. You've seen him do some bag work. That guy could move his hands pretty quick. I think he'd do all right. And if he landed one or two, I don't think Bruce Lee could take those types of hits. And I'm not sure he could give them either. But yeah, I'm going with Muhammad Ali.
I'm going Bruce Lee, man, because Bruce Lee can kick as well. Doesn't have to punch. Bruce Lee can kick, can't he? So Bruce Lee can fly in the air and all sorts. Where Muhammad Ali he's a boxer, so his stance is going to be like that. Where Ali, it's like a boxer going against a cage fighter.
That makes sense. Yeah, that's true.
So I'd probably go Bruce Lee, and then just to answer. So you've got suppose EC3 says Bruce Lee. Dekaru says float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. Meta Football says Bruce Lee would chop at his legs. Ali wouldn't get at him.
That's a really good
David
point,
Clark
guys.
says Ali was only fast at changing his religion. Ryan G says Bruce Lee has more weapons, all the bigger man, but I'm generally don't know who'd win. Right. So, and then the next one we've got, because that's an interesting one, because I can talk about it after. But the last one we've got at the moment starred is MJ or Prince.
Oh God! Well, I mean, this is it's tainted by all the allegations and stuff against Michael Jackson. But, shit, I feel like I had to say Prince. Prince's songs are more fun to me. Elevator. Oh no, let's go. Yeah, I don't know. Prince was more my jam. Like, it was more rocking. It was a little bit more rocking and a little bit more fun to me than MJ. MJ was more pop. And I know that Prince was pop too, obviously, but in my opinion, less so. There was more guitar in Prince, and I'm a big guitar guy. So yeah, that's me.
Christopher Football says Prince. Daniel Sandoval is saying Prince. And then you've got Ryan G is saying MJ's music is better for me. Dekaru saying Little Red Corvette. Another 92 milestone for me. Saw Prince at Earls Court on the 15th of June 1992. Damn. Sanchez Bresnell Green says Prince wins. Have you seen him play guitar, sing piano, drums, plus funky?
Yeah, dude, he's a very talented musician for sure.
And he says, but not listen to a lot of Prince. Hasn't Prince passed away? I thought Prince had passed away as well.
Yeah, he has. Yeah. He has.
Okay, for me, I'm going to answer this by saying, for me, it's Michael Jackson. I think Michael Jackson. Forget about it. I'm not looking at the taintness. I'm just looking at the longevity of the man and what he started doing as a child, and what he then turned into. He revolutionized music. He revolutionized videos that accompanied. So his Thriller one, the one with the werewolves and all that changed the landscape for videos accompanying songs. So I think he'd done a lot of stuff, and he changed. I mean, he changed his appearance. He changed absolutely everything, but changed the way he did music and that from a kid going through. And I just think his longevity. And I think if you look at the album sales, I think they speak for themselves.
All right, but sorry, I got to go. I'm getting a call actually, literally right now.
Later, boss.
See you
tomorrow.
Yeah,
see you tomorrow. Take
care,
mate.
Everybody, the ladies show and the prediction show tomorrow.
I will do that. Yeah, I'll do. I'm doing all that. See you later.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.
And then I've got that's the Daniel Sandoval. So what I'm going to say to you guys, right? And I spoke about this yesterday. So I'm going to ask you a question, right? I'm going to put it in the chat, and so then I can highlight it, right? And my question is, I probably butchered the way. Right. It's coming now. My question is, right, for those that'll be watching it tomorrow night, or those that are interested, is it AJ or Ngannou that wins tomorrow? Anthony Joshua or Ngannou? This fight will interest me. I'm going to watch this tomorrow. I'm not paying for it. I'm going to do a bit of the older stuff. Um, but yeah, I'd be interested. So, Chris, you reckon Ngannou because he's too powerful? Okay, interesting. So, for people that don't know, so Dakari's got a question mark, right? Um, Dakari's got a question mark, so I'm going to might have to explain to Dakari, right? But Ryan, so Chris is saying Ngannou is too powerful. Ryan G says, I think Joshua, unfortunately, I want Ngannou to win. I think Fury took him too lightly and Joshua won't, right? For me, right, and sorry for Dakari, for people that don't know who these people are. So, Anthony Joshua is a two-time world champion and Olympic gold medalist who lost his titles to Alexander Usyk, heavyweight, lost his titles to Alexander Usyk, changed the way um, changed the way that he boxed in the second fight to fight against Usyk, but still was beaten. Um, so now he's trying to make his way back to fight for the heavyweight belts. Ngannou is a cage. I think he was a former heavyweight world champion MMA cage fighter, right? And he fought his first ever boxing bout under the Queensberry rules, so under the rules of boxing with the gloves and everything. He fought that uh, against Tyson Fury, who is he's the UFC champion. I thought I said MMA because to me the octagon I just call it MMA. I don't know why, but he's UFC champion. So he's a cage champion, isn't he? UFC. He's a cage champion. Um, and then Ngannou fought Tyson Fury, who is the linear world champion, and Tyson Fury. I didn't see the fight. I think it was a 10-round fight, and Tyson Fury won on points, was given it on points by the judges, but Ngannou had knocked Fury down during the fight. And by all accounts, 9 out of 10 people that you speak to say that that fight was won by Ngannou. So obviously Fury's gone away to fight Usyk. They're fighting in a couple of months' time for the postponed heavyweight championship of the world to have one unified champion. And in the meantime, Joshua was lined up to fight Deontay Wilder, the bronze bomber. But Deontay Wilder was beaten by Joseph Parker the same night that AJ beat Varlin. So they had a night of reckoning. There was about 10 fights on there, but these two won their fights. So in the end, what's ended up happening is tomorrow night on the undercard, Joseph Parker, who beat Deontay Wilder, is fighting Zhilei Zhang, who beat Joe Joyce twice, the big heavy duty Chinese guy. So they're fighting. And it's interesting because AJ's already beaten Zhilei Zhang years ago in the amateurs or whatever it was. And I think he might have even beaten him in the Olympics. He beat him in the semi-finals, I think, in the Olympics as well. So tomorrow, AJ is fighting Ngannou. Now, I think, and I agree with Chris Meta Football. The man looks as strong as an ox, man. The man looks so strong, Ngannou. But if any of you watched the press conference, right? I thought the press conference was brilliant because they did the press conference yesterday, and who was in the front seat at the press conference? The person in the front seat was none other than Tyson Fury, and Tyson Fury started giving mouth to Ngannou, and Ngannou, in front of everybody, just turned around and said, "You carry on like that." He goes, "The reason why you're still standing is because you and I are protected by the rules of boxing. But if we're not protected by the rules of boxing, and them rules don't matter," he goes, "you won't stand in my way because if you stand in my way, I'll squat you." And that's probably right because with Ngannou being a UFC fighter, you can use anything and everything, can't you, in order to win? So at the end of the day, it was interesting that he's but basically said to him, "Look, you only get protected because of the gloves and because of the rules of boxing. If we were to fight," he goes, "you wouldn't come nowhere near me. You wouldn't stand in my way at all. I'd squat you." So yeah, it's interesting. So for me tomorrow, I think it'll be a tough fight. But I can see Joshua not necessarily having to knock him out. I can see Joshua winning on points just by jabbing him away. And I don't think someone's put it in here already, but I don't think that Joshua is taking Ngannou lightly as what Tyson Fury did. So Chris is saying Ngannou's too powerful. Ryan says, I think Joshua, unfortunately, I want Ngannou to win. I think Fury took him lightly and Joshua won't. Uh, Audio, AJ gets given a dodgy win on points just like Fury. I actually think that it will jab him. I think it will jab him. Good evening, Scott. How are you, Scott, mate? Hope you're well. Nice to see you. If you've got any questions to ask, ask away. And you know what the show's all about. It's asking questions, and we answer everyone, myself and everyone in the chat can answer. Stay humble. Hi, I'm back. Surely AJ wins on points, but it wouldn't surprise me if Joshua loses. So which way are you going? You going for the win or the loss, mate? Uh, Spurs GCTV says depends on the rules. If Queensbury AJ, if no rules, MMA wins every time. No, it's boxing. It's under the Queensbury rules. It's a boxing fight. David Clark, Joshua, because when the Gypsy King fought him, he got lazy and didn't train properly. Joshua in 5, although he may have to win after getting knocked down. Interesting. Ryan says he's a UFC champion. He is. Sanchez, AJ, but Ngannou is a one-off. I wouldn't bet on it. Maybe a jib. Uh, Ryan saying Spurs GCC anything other than the boxing match. AJ wouldn't last 2 minutes. Neither would Fury. Yeah, they wouldn't. And this is what Ngannou was saying. Ngannou said this as well. Um, Saudi wouldn't let Fury lose in an exhibition on their soil. I agree, Jose. He lost that fight to Ngannou. Ryan says Parker versus Zhang will be a good scrap. Zhang to beat Parker tomorrow from Chris Meta. Paul G's in the house. Good evening, Paul G. Any questions? Fire them at me, and we'll all answer the questions. But nice to see you, brother. Stay humble. Parker is a tough cookie, and I think he'll win coming off a win against Wilder. The thing is, though, right? I'm not saying. Listen, Parker is one of these Maoris that's that's as strong as an ox. But that Zilly Zag, man, I mean, Joyce can bang, right? There's no getting away. Joyce has got power in his punches as well. But that Zilly Zag, he for a big guy, he is mobile, man. He can move, and the thing is, he's got such a dig on him. I mean, um, apart from knocking out Joe Joyce, on his jab, did you see Joe Joyce's face? How he shut his eye and everything. He closed his eye up and everything, and he's fucking. He was like John Hurt in the Elephant Man. His head was like that. Um, so he's a good fighter. A good fighter. Um, Spurs GCTV. I've got to hit the sack. Been a great show and a pleasure as always. Stay well all. And you Spurs GCTV. Don't forget tomorrow predictions 4 o'clock. Yeah, if you can make it. If you can't make it, then please leave your scores at the end of the stream, and I will pick them up as long as they're in before the first game. Um, yeah. So yeah, he's a tough cookie. He's a good fighter. Um, I like McGregor versus Mayweather. McGregor would have destroyed him in anything but a boxing match. It's the same as all these. They would do. They would do. So Chris is saying Zhang is durable and can slap a man too. uh, and then Spurs GCV see us tomorrow. Yeah, Spurs GCV, take care. I'm not going much longer myself because it's gone midnight and I've got to be up for work. So, but the next question we got is from Ryan G. A prime Pacquiao or Mayweather? Right. So for me, I'm going to answer this before anyone else answers this. For me, Pacquiao was a superb boxer, but Mayweather is elite. Mayweather is levels, is elite. I mean, there was people that went in with Mayweather that I felt, for one reason, using what I'd say was their believed strength, would beat Pacquiao. Sorry, would beat Mayweather. Mayweather never lost a fight. Hardly any boxer that I fancied could put a glove on Mayweather that I fancied. I fancied him against Oscar De La Hoya. And Oscar De La Hoya for me was one of the most technically gifted boxers. And I thought De La Hoya would give him trouble. De La Hoya didn't get near him. I thought Ricky Hatton, because of the power that Ricky had, I thought Ricky would give him trouble. Ricky never got near him. And there's other fighters that have fought Mayweather, and none of them ever got near him. Listen, stay humble. I understand what you're saying, right? But the thing is, the art of boxing is not to get hit. And Mayweather was quick as well, man. Mayweather puts combinations on you, and then gets away and doesn't get hit. That's how you end up winning fights. But Mayweather, I couldn't see anybody, and even people that I fancied, never laid a glove on Mayweather. And at the end of the day, I think he's a flash git and stuff like that. I mean, and I won't say he's my favourite boxer because of the way he conducts himself and stuff like that. But I've got to give him his props. Defensively, or as a boxer, he is prime elite boxer because you know he hardly gets hit and he wins fights and he's such a slight frame on him, right? But then he knocks people out as well. He was knocking people out. At the end of the day, as I said, I'm as a person, nah, I don't like Mayweather. But as a boxer, I can't knock him defensively sound, and he can box as well. And whether he boxed and move, the whole idea is not to get hit, and he doesn't get hit. And as I said, I saw people that I thought could beat him with the strengths that they've got going with him, and not even lay a glove on him. It's just, yeah, he was a good fighter. Um, Chris is saying Pacquiao was too good in my opinion. Mayweather was defensively perfect. Danielle says Rocky versus Rambo. Um, Ryan G says I think Pacquiao would have beaten him in his prime. Castillo arguably beat Mayweather. Hmm. But Mayweather was ridiculously good fighter, no doubt, defensive master. Uh, and then Brian says I think Mayweather waited for the right time, but we will never know. Yeah, at the end of the day, Mayweather's reactions and that was so quick. He never got hit. You know, at the end of the day, without knocking people out, if you land more punches than your opponent does, doesn't matter whether you're going in or out, in and out, in and out. As long as you land more punches than what your opponent does, you're going to win the fight, ain't you? Without knocking someone out, you land more punches, you win the fight because more scoring punches gets you the rounds, and that's what he did. But people might not have liked his style, but it was fucking effective, and he's retired unbeaten, isn't he? So, I mean, I do think that Pacquiao went on way past his sell-by date, though. Obviously, for whatever reasons, he still carried on, continue fighting. I think he went well past his sell date, but he was another great boxer. But I wish him all the best. I'm happy that he's not allowed to box in the Olympics because he tried to get into the Olympics in Paris 2024. He tried to get into the Olympics fighting for the Philippines, but once you pass the age of 40, there's certain criteria that you need to meet. Or no, sorry. You cannot fight now in the Olympics beyond the age of 40. And I think Pacquiao's 45. And he tried to get them to bend the rules for him so he could fight in Paris. I'm glad they said no because at the end of the day, he's had a grueling life in the ring, um, Pacquiao. And, I just think he's better suited, like resting up, keeping his faculties as they are, and spending time with his family. Live your life, mate. You've done enough in the ring. Live your life, and if he then wants to go on to, because he also is talking about going into politics. If he wants to do that, follow a different career path. Start the boxing ring. You've done what you need to do. Step away. Um, Ryan G says Maidana nearly beat Mayweather as well. He got rocked badly in that fight. And Ryan Gill says also Triple G would have smashed Cancelo if they fought in their primes. The other fight, and I can't remember what's the guy's name. There's the two fighters that are fighting soon. Ah, Berbatiev, and the other fella. They're both from the Eastern Bloc, I think, and they're both fighting, and they're both quality boxers, and it'd be interesting to see who comes out on top in that one. I can't remember the other fella's name now, it escapes me, but Berbiev, yeah. It's going to be interesting to see their fight. Um, yeah, he's a monster, but yeah, it's the person he's fighting is a fucking monster as well, though, Ryan. Yeah, but it's the person he's fighting is a monster as well. He's a top fighter. The person that he's going up against, I think they're unifying the belts. And it's the person that Berbetev's fighting. He's a good fighter as well. I can't use my laptop at the moment because it's down. But it'd be interesting to see who it was that he's fighting, because whoever it is that he's fighting, and I can't remember his name, but he's a really good boxer as well. Let me have a look, see if I can see it on my phone because I can't see it on my laptop. Let's have a look. No, it ain't Hergovich. Hergovich is a heavyweight. Right, Berbatov next fight. Is he fighting next? He just beat Callum Smith, didn't he? Right, he beat Callum Smith. Right, what's this one saying? Right, it's Berbatov versus Dmitry Bivol. That will be a top fight. Arthur Berbatov versus Dmitry Bivol. That's the fight that's coming up. They're sounded out for next. So Berbatov versus Bivol is the next fight that's coming up, and that should be some fight as well. So Berbatov versus Bivol, that'll be a good fight to see. Interesting, because it looks like we've got some people here that do like their boxing. So yeah, that should be a good fight. Well, listen, look, everybody, it's now nearly coming up to midnight, and I've got to be up in the morning for work. Get up nice and early, get me work done, so I can get ready for the 4 o'clock show tomorrow afternoon. So tomorrow, for those that are still with us, we have Talk and Ball at 11 o'clock in the morning, which is the ladies' takeover show, which is Ash P and Ellie, and then at 4 o'clock, dual stream both on Tel Cockerel and on Talk and Ball. We will have the prediction show tomorrow at 4 p.m. And on Sunday, we are doing the watch along. I think we're starting the program at 12:30 because the match starts at 1 o'clock. So we're only going to go half an hour before the match starts. And that'll be dual streamed again on Talkable and I'll Tell Cockerel. So what we'll do, so there's a dual stream at 4 o'clock tomorrow, dual stream on Sunday at 12:30. And then obviously the Talk and Ball will have, it's Talk and Ball's turn this week to have the ladies takeover tomorrow at 11 a.m. But listen, everyone, thank you very much for popping in and for being with us. 2 hours have flown by. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed your answers. I've enjoyed your questions. And I bid you all a good night or a good evening or a good morning, depending where you are in the world. And I wish you nothing but happiness and love to you all. And I shall see you all tomorrow. So thank you very much. Take care, everyone. Bye.
My team has got James Madison. James Madison is what we need. Whoa, thank God we got James Madison. This kid plays ball like you.